facilitating people in their personal growth, Jonaki Thomas is a certified professional counselor, psychologist, NLP associate coach, and practitioner, and a breath mindfulness coach with an experience spanning over 18 plus years. She has advanced skill in the use of proactive and creative strategies appropriate to working with children, adolescents, teenagers, and adults. She offers training through workshops to various professionals like teachers and executives in the field of life skills, emotion, and conflict management. She has a blog about intrinsic change people make in their lives called Live in Love and Light. Her goal is to empower individuals and organizations to achieve their potential and make the impact they want to in their lives. So I welcome you, Janaki, on our podcast Towards Tomorrow. It's been a pleasure meeting you for the previous interview and as well as now.
Thank you so much, Komal. I just loved it when you called me back. Thank you so much.
So before we begin, just tell us how was your day? How's your morning been going on?
You have chosen a fantastic day to interview me. I cannot be anything less than, a 10 on 10. Today is Janmashtami here being celebrated in India, and
Yeah.
it's a very nice festive occasion. Today it's nice. It's wonderful. I think I have a blessed life, and may everyone have it.
It's an auspicious day to record this podcast as well.
I think you just chose so wisely. Thank you.
So, to tell us more about you to the audience, so since how long have you been in this field of coaching, and what is your niche specifically?
So, I started my coaching journey. It's been about over 2 decades, over 20 years actually, that
Mm,
I've been in this field. So, I started uh, in a different way. I did not start with mainstream coaching. I started with
mm,
spiritual coaching first,
mm,
and spiritual counseling. I worked with Pyramid Valley International for over a decade, and I
mm,
would host their, they have this yearly global festival of spiritual scientists where they would invite 10 different masters from all over the world and who would present their lifetime work, uh, you know and
mm,
I would be hosting that and figuring out how which part would go into our which magazines, because they have their international thing. Their magazines and their websites are published in 20 different languages all over the world, right?
wow.
So that gave me a lot of exposure towards what kind of support is needed by people all over the world, because
Right.
these are the people who would come and present research in different age groups of wherever they are, in whichever part of the globe that they have been. But
Mm,
later I realized that there's a more technical handle required when you want to help people. Spirituality is not the answer all the time. You need to be
yeah.
ready with more hands-on techniques. If I'm depressed, what should I do? If I'm upset, what should I do? If I'm feeling like this, mood management, what
Mm.
do I need? So I went and I trained myself to be a counselor for teenager and young adults, and even that was not enough because teenage children move very quickly, and then
Right.
parents need more support. The environment needs a lot of support, so that required family counseling and exposure in handling intimate personal violences of different kind, and boundary work, and understanding how self-awareness can help. So yes, over 2 decades, and my niche, I would say, is relationship coaching.
Right.
But give me one more minute. The reason why I think that a good counselor, a good coach needs to be a generalist and not a specialist is because you
Mm.
don't know what the client is going to bring to the session, na, Komal?
Yeah, yeah. Right.
If we are not ready to handle whatever you're bringing, and
Mm.
I need to check that off from my list before you come to the session to talk to me,
Mm.
um, how does that help you? So,
Mm.
yes, I like the umbrella of relationship coaching with self and with
Mm.
others.
That's really nice because most people, it's not just one thing that they come to you, but they have a umbrella of different issues that they talk to you about. And when we are talking about these mental health issues, so what are a few reasons that you have seen in your experience, mainly in teenagers? Like, what are the mental health issues that are raising in teenagers today?
So, since you said mainly teenagers, but let me tell you, mental health issues are, uh, there's no age
For
right for it.
everyone.
Of course,
Yeah.
it can be for many reasons.
Yeah.
It can be genetics, it can be
Mm.
hormones, it can be
Mm.
life events, it can be self-awareness, it can be poor mood management, it can be
Right.
poor boundaries. And the problem that has happened in the past 2 years is that, we have what the industry calls the new normal in psychological parlance.
Mm.
New normal, that means, what is the new normal? Unprecedented school and college closures, right? Short
Mm.
notice, there's a loss of face-to-face support systems. When you want it, it may not be there because you are in
Right.
enforced isolation. Your
Mm.
routines are disrupted. There are more family problems because all the time you're together. Earlier, everyone would go out and do their own thing and come back and meet for some time. Now, all the time
Yeah.
you're together. We have faced that. Hopefully, we are coming out of that. But it is
Mm.
still there, enforced isolation. And anytime you test positive, you go back into isolation. So there
Mm.
is an increased fear and anxiety that comes from the stress, whether I'll be able to manage it or not. What will happen
Yeah.
whether I'll go back or not? And this
Right.
is not only in teenagers, I think they are also affected by parental depression. If
Mm.
parents don't get along with each other in the family, or if there are issues, that affects them. So
Mm.
there is a negative family environment, which can be, some kind of substance abuse or personal abuse. Either you're drinking too much, smoking too much. I don't mean just drugs. I mean,
Mm.
um, so there is mistreatment of children. They are the first target if they are at home, because the power equation is not equal, no, between parents
Right.
and children.
Yeah.
So there is mistreatment because of family conflict. So there
Mm.
is loss of school, there is loss of sport, which
Yeah.
really
Physical
automatically,
activity.
yeah, physical
Mm.
activity, which generates the right hormones in to feel good and for a long
Mm.
period of time. And loss of supportive relationship from family and extended family and
Mm.
mentors. you know so
Right.
multiple reasons there, multiple
Mm.
reasons.
So when you're parenting a teen, so it comes with a lot of rules as well as a lot of conflicts because teens get really rebellious in their teenage years and adolescent as well. So how do you put
uh,
light? I think you have a lot to say on this, I guess. I hit the right
um,
nerve over here.
I
So
don't know
how
where to begin, honestly.
so
But I
how
would
to
say that, not only for teens, but for anybody, for
hmm,
parenting as such, it follows two very simple rules. And there are lots of complicated ones later, but two
hmm,
simple rules. The first one is whether we are able to set firm limits,
right. Hmm,
without repeated warnings, lectures, or threat,
hmm,
and if
hmm,
possible, without anger. Are we able to do that?
yeah.
Number two is, if there has been mistakes and breach of boundaries, if those limits
Hmm,
have been broken, how do we solve the problem in loving ways? Because
yeah.
uh,
Hmm,
teenagers are actually dependent. They are in between. They're adolescents, right? They're in between
hmm.
their childhood and adults.
Adults,
So
yeah.
they are the child part is not yet gone and adult part hasn't yet come. So they're in that
Hmm,
cusp, teenagers in that cusp when they're moving towards that adulthood. They
hmm,
require a lot of patience, which really has been eroded by life events in the last two
hmm,
years. No,
hmm,
so parenting would require a lot of energy from parents. So I would encourage parenting to be brought in, when you have the energy to deal with the problems. And how do parents have energy is through
hmm.
self-care. No, they have to
Right.
first take care of themselves and be in a good headspace so that they
Hmm,
can then share it with others
hmm.
in the
Right.
family. So good self-care, um, assertive communication. Now I cannot stress more on assertive communication because even UNICEF lists it in the list of 10 life skills, that assertive communication is one of them. So
Yeah.
how to communicate that takes care of our need as well as
Hmm,
the other person's need at the same time.
hmm.
We as a society need to learn it, because
Yeah.
somehow it's taken for granted that we can outshout our children anytime, or and not listen, tune out whenever they are whining or whatever it is. So
Hmm.
how do we communicate in a more respectful manner? That is
Right.
needed.
Hmm,
And also importance of consequences versus punishment. It's very punishment becomes controlling, and that has different fallout versus consequences. If we can teach teenagers about consequences of their actions, they can think through whether they want it or they don't want it themselves. I think because they are at a time where they can think of consequences, they understand if they do
Right.
something there might be a consequence. Are we able to explain it in a manner so that they can choose whether they want the consequence or
Yeah.
not, and hope that they fail a few times so that then you can come and set the limits properly for them again with the
Yeah.
consequences.
With the concept. Yeah. So, as you told about self-care, the parents should also follow routine for their self-care to keep their health in check. So, how do you recommend them to like practice mindfulness or even meditation in their daily routine, not just of parents but also for teenagers to solve mental health issues?
See, nice. Now you're asking me about mindfulness. I can talk
Slowly
about
digging
it.
down
Please feel free
everything.
to stop me if I talk too much about mindfulness, because the reason why mindfulness is a key. It's an easiest key available because you can close your eyes and retreat within self wherever you are. You don't have to go anywhere for it.
Yeah.
Why? I'll ask why and I'll come back to teens. The reason
Mm.
why is that, see, we have about 80,000 thoughts rushing through our brains every single day,
Mm. Yeah.
60 to 80,000 thoughts.
Mm.
And 90% of that is repetitive
Mm.
from what we are carrying from yesterday. So
Yeah.
if we are lost in a loop of negative thoughts or stress or fear or anger or difficulty of any kind, it will repeat. It's repeating. And we tend to believe at some point of the time, if we don't have the clarity that
Mm.
our feelings may not be facts, it only
Right.
adds to the problem.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
mindfulness is the technique, the key, the easiest path to make time for yourself. The moment you close your eyes, 80% input to our brain stops,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
then other 20% is from our thoughts. And if we can anchor it to whatever it is that agrees with us,
Mm.
we can happily give ourselves, slow down and give
Mm.
ourselves time. The
Yeah.
moment we have more time, we have more choices. So if choices are made keeping consequences in mind more
Mm.
skillfully, perhaps,
Mm.
what does it lead to? It leads to the freedom of choice. If we can
Mm.
understand the consequences of what we want to do, when we want to do,
Mm.
um, and we have solved the problem of
Half of the problem
any kind
solved.
of
Yeah.
management.
Mm.
So another thing is that we don't think very well when we are stressed. No, our brain gets confused. It's in certain it's called the busy beta brain waves. Nowadays, we have technique where you can hook up an EEG to your brain and it can map the brain.
Okay.
It's called electroencephalograph. So
Mm.
if we are stressed and we have anger or we are depressed or we are, worried, our brains have a very hard time learning, doing, or making the right consequences or even choosing properly. It's under
Mm.
stress,
Yeah.
right? So that is not the time that we can pay attention to whatever it is that's good for us,
Mm.
especially teenage brain. It's a time when even the hormones are raging. So
Right.
teenage brain, there's a lot of activity, so this is the time that a lot of their regular routines also goes for a toss because of hormonal change. Like
Mm.
their sleep pattern goes for a toss, their eating pattern goes for a toss. Lots of times they were good at something, they suddenly become slow and again they catch up later because brain is
Yeah.
going through a pruning.
Mm.
So mindfulness is a technique that can really help them, not only them, for everybody, but especially them, to figure out what is it that they actually want. Because all
Mm.
the time thoughts are raging, there are so many choices, their peers are doing something, they have to catch up with the social media, they're comparing about their body image, their thoughts,
Yeah.
their belief system with what is the world throwing at them. This is a time
Mm.
of overstimulated brain.
Yeah.
So if they can find out a technique, if they can be taught a technique where
Yeah.
they have a handle on
Mm.
their thoughts,
Yeah.
um, but for that I think the environment has to really be more supportive, like you
Mm.
mentioned about parenting before that. I think parents have to model, because
Mm.
communication is so much more non-verbal than verbal, no?
Yeah.
So if you can practice what you want and not just talk about it, if you can
Mm.
practice what you preach, uh, a lot of things would be easier, or at least you would have tried. So parents can be in a very good place that they have done their best, and
Mm.
after that, they have let the children evolve.
Yeah. So when we're talking about mindfulness, you also told that it will clear your mind up, so you are more decisive when it comes to your life as well as your career. So how will these counseling actually improve your decision making skills? And if there is someone who would want to take counseling, so what is the right time for them to take this up?
So I think, counseling, one thing, let me just clarify that counseling was a part of our ancient heritage right from the very beginning. Huh?
Mhm.
We have lost it.
Mm.
Why do I say this? This is not because, I have done spiritual counseling, not because of that, but because, see, earlier, especially for women, they were allowed to talk to only uh, two kind of males outside their families. Their, their father, brothers is there, but
Mm.
and no one else in the family. They were restricted, and later on, after they got married, it would be their husbands and their families. I mean, only
Yeah.
in the family, and anything else was frowned upon. But there was
Mm.
one person, one male contact, that they could have contact with, from the time that they were born till the time they died. That was the guru, the guide.
Mm. Yeah.
So they were allowed to have this outside counsel who was not involved in their regular day-to-day matters and their financial state or any kind of issues. They could go there for their lifeline, to be understood, to be taught, to
Mm.
pick up skills.
Mm.
Now, slowly, we lost that. The whole system, the lineage of having a guru went out of
Mm.
fashion. Then there was joint family system that went out of fashion. Then there was nuclear family, and now
Nuclear.
we have single
Yeah.
family, right? So we need to understand where for decision making you need support from different kind of people at different point of life. When you're a
Mm.
child, when you're a child, yes, you need your parents more. When you're a teenager, you need more stimulation. You need to figure out, you want to listen to more people.
Mm.
Then when you are grown up, then you need to understand whether you are making the right consequences of the action that you are taking. So at every point of life, we need some kind of a counseling support. I mean,
Yeah.
for the uh, to be understood and to be validated, whether we are making the right right
Mm.
points, whether we
Yeah.
have thought through everything correctly, right?
Mm.
So if we want to make the correct decision, we need to be in a space where we have thought through the consequences of all our actions after
Mm.
considering all the choices on the table. So if we are really stressed and if we are worried, whether it is about our career, whether it is about our partners, whether it is about academics, we have to understand what are the different choices on the table and then consequences of each choices.
Each
So
one.
career, definitely career is important, but
Mm.
also I think Indian society, they're very good at livelihood skills. Go to school, go to college, uh, get a job, buy a car, get a house, get married. It's all mapped perfectly. But the
Yeah.
life skills, how to talk, how to communicate so that you can hear
Mm.
yourself and others, how to make decisions, how to
Mm.
solve conflicts, what are the interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills,
Mm.
conflict resolution. We no no we are far away from gold standard
Yeah.
there. So why just career choices? For any choices, I think teenagers have to give themselves the permission to be able to look at all the options that is available.
Mm.
And this may not be, and for them basically to understand that school is not the last point of choice making. If you have not chosen between engineering and medical, there are lots of other careers. So you don't, if
Yeah.
you have to take science, humanities or commerce, and what if you are interested in something like art history?
Mm.
you know.
Right.
So I have children who have gone into thinking that they're going to be maths major, they're going to do maths, but there they have attended history lecture, and then they realize no, they're not interested in that, they're interested in art history, and now they want to be curators somewhere else. So
Mm.
to understand that the world that you are growing in now
Mm.
offers careers in multiple fields,
Yeah.
amazing fields, and technology, they can please use the technology which is available to explore that, right?
Mm.
So there are now apps available where you have um, talks recorded by different professionals, living professionals in different fields, not only IPS, IAS, and medical doctors, but even like chefs and
Mm.
pole dancing to sky gazing, to different kind of professions which are now available. And what what does it mean? Like, what kind of education would you need to do? What kind of
Mm.
skills do you need to pick up? What are the advantages of the careers? What are disadvantages? And what does a day look like in their
Yeah.
career?
Yeah.
So if they can get access to this kind of information which now exists, and choose something and go ahead with it, and also realize that you can reshuffle your career at any point of time,
Mm.
um, I started with corporate banking, and now I'm a coach. uh, it is possible to realign anytime you wish to. We all have this power of choice to change our mind. But
Mm.
whatever we do, if we are willing to work hard and
Towards
give
it.
it
Yeah.
what it takes,
Mm.
there's no reason why you can't have it at any point of time.
Right. You also talked about that we set up these maps that go get a house, get buy a car or something like that. But nobody talks us about how do we actually communicate with others? What are the interpersonal skills that teenagers require? And I think it's very important for a teenager to begin it from their teenage life than starting like at 25 or 30 or even beyond that. So, how do you guide teenagers in developing these interpersonal skills?
So I also consult for a residential school. They got me, and for the last 6 7 years now, I have been going there, and it's very interesting to see how quickly they respond. I'm spoiled by talking to teenagers, because they'll be done. You want to solve a problem, 2 sessions, they are done, and then they'll be like, "Can you talk to my mom?" And "Can you talk to my dad?" Like, their problem is sorted, and the other people need help. But for teenagers, if we can, as a support system, if we can teach them first that self-care. What is
Mm,
self-care? Self-care comes from understanding that you need to have four things in order: your nutrition, hydration,
mm,
your sleep, and exercise. Four things,
mm.
basic. If you don't have it, sorry, you don't have the energy to solve anything else in your life. So if you are not eating well, if
Mm,
you're not drinking water, I cannot stress enough about drinking water, because half the problems happen because um, we don't have enough fluids in our body. I will come
right.
back to it if we have the time.
Yeah.
And then there is sleep. You
Mm,
don't sleep well, sorry, your brain doesn't have the right zone to make the right waves for you to make the right choices.
mm.
And exercise,
Exercise. Yeah.
like I don't know, I can write a book on why exercise is needed, because if you don't exercise, you don't have access to natural ways of producing the right hormones to feel good, adrenaline,
Mm,
serotonin. You don't have it. And
yeah.
then you want to fix it quickly through other things, other things which can become addictive,
Mm.
whether it is watching Netflix and Amazon Prime, or whether it's playing video games, or whether it is going on social media every 2 minutes to check which reel is there, or how many likes you have got,
Mm.
whether it is smoking, whether it
Right.
is sex, whether it is drinking, anything which is
Mm,
repetitive, and they will give pleasure. Overeating, that's another thing. Overeating
mm. Very good.
in teenage,
Yeah.
because you want to feel good, you immediately will want to eat something, and that's immediate rush of
Just
dopamine, right?
instant
But
gratification.
instant gratification, right? That
Yeah.
was right. That instant gratification, but then it does not last.
Mm.
You get into one relationship, and by the honeymoon is period is there, oh great, I'm dating, I'm doing this, this person, this friend is dating, that friend is dating, I'm also dating. And then you
Mm.
realize, no, dating high goes immediately after 2 weeks when you don't communicate. You don't have your communication in place. You don't have this whole sense of patience, that anything good takes time to build over a period of time. You have to work through conflicts for that, and it can be done. So not to look for short-term fixes. We need to have energy for long-term haul. And
Yeah.
that energy comes through those four things: your nutrition, hydration, sleep, and exercise. And if you don't have that, I'm sorry, we need to go back and fix it. Not only for teenagers, for adults, for everybody.
For everyone, yeah.
Yeah. And once you have the energy, then comes your environment. Once you have this energy, then comes on who are your friends. Because after all, there's enough research to say that we are average of 5 people that we are speaking to at any point of time. So who are the people? Have you chosen your friends wisely? Are they adding value to you? Are you adding value to them? So what are you talking about? Are you with people who are motivated because their energy is going to rub off on you? Are you motivating for others? So your social environment, we are biopsychosocial beings, right? So it's not only our genetics and our makeup, but it's also the environment that makes all the difference. So for them to be able to make the right choices, they would also have to choose the right friends and the right adults to listen to, because we have too much information and too many people, and in this choice, in this period of internet, I mean, what do we not have access for? So who do you stop listening to? That is my another thing. I have a 17-year-old boy who came to me ago, with anxiety issues. And then I realized that this boy is actually acting out the dysfunction in between his parents. It's very classical, what the psychologists call triangulation. Parents have a problem, they focus on the children, and they'll come and hand them over. Hey, fix the child and give them back to me. Doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So then I realized that this is not just anxiety, it is also overstimulated brain, a 16-year-old, this was 16 then, brain which escapes in this world of YouTubes. They are just, and I said, what kind of YouTubes do you watch? And he watches anything from cooking to stargazing to some animal pet shows. And it's not that he is watching only movies or any such things. It's just something to just distract him, just something to distract. So that part, if we can choose well for the time that we have, that is the key, the power of choice. So any self-harming habit can be done away with if we have the energy for it.
Like you said that there are a lot of career choices, and you started right from corporate banking to now that you're a coach. But if someone, a teenager who's watching our show, would want to pursue in psychology, so how do you think, is it like a good option in the relevant times now as a career, and or even for the upcoming generation? And if they want to, how do they even go about pursuing it?
So I think anybody can pursue anything at your generation is in a lovely, lovely time. You want to learn, the world is your oyster. You can choose from wherever you want. But especially in field of psychology, because you have asked me, I started late, right? This is my second avatar, so I had to go back and do my master's in psychology. But psychology is now offered as a choice from class 11th under CBSE. You can choose that, and you can pursue it in college, whether you want to do a undergrad degree in it or a grad degree in it, and go ahead. But psychology can be now clubbed with even science subjects in liberal arts and science colleges. So now we don't only have traditional colleges where you have only one course of one kind left with you, but you have liberal arts and science colleges in India like Ashoka, Azim Premji University, Jindal, Flame. So these are the different Kriya new age colleges which have been there for a decade now. They're over 10 years old, not so new also, who offer you the combination of whatever you want. So you can do a major in psychology with a minor in biology and look at what it can open up for you. Not only just research, but in the field of biochemistry, if you want to join in and develop some kind of a product which can measure sleep, if you're interested in something like that. So and it can also be a combination of with different gaming. Lots of people, in fact there was a whole article about it, how game developers in Silicon Valley have used psychologists to sit down and choose what can make it more interesting and addictive for people. So psychology is a field which will find entrance everywhere. In HR, if you come with psychology, in not only in counseling, I'm forgetting counseling is the easiest thing, I'm leaving that, but also in people management, event management, in whatever it is that you are interested in terms of doing. In fact, I have someone who's doing majoring in chemistry and minoring in psychology because they want to do they want to lead manage the research team in some university abroad. So just for wherever people management come in, psychology plays a bigger role. And you need not pursue psychology as the only career. It can be one of the subjects among the other things that you are doing. In fact, this generation which is growing up, I don't think one college degree is going to cut it anymore. You will have to keep reinventing yourself again and again, because AI is coming and they are going to make a lot of regular things redundant. So you better be ready to learn and relearn and upskill at any point of life. So I think psychology is one of the basic sciences that we can learn, because it just helps us to know ourselves better, and then we can be more available and more helpful for others around us.
You are a life coach and you are an author as well. So, what kind of articles or books do you write, and do you have any upcoming plans regarding your new books or any new projects as such, which you can reveal, obviously?
No. There's nothing not revealing. I think I'm in a space where I have 100% transparency. So no, I haven't. I haven't written much. I haven't thought of publishing myself again, but I do write blogs. And this also happened because my clients started asking me, why don't you share the experiences that you have, so that other people can read and they can be encouraged to join. So I have a blog that you mentioned before, no?
Yeah,
Live in Love and Light.
yeah.
It's on WordPress, and I had thought I will be able to write at least about one person's journey in counseling with me. Uh,
Oh, okay.
One every month, but I haven't been able to do that because I've just been too busy, because it takes time. I have to make sure that the person is comfortable, and they all I'm so surprised that all my clients, yeah, you can happily blog about me, you can use my name, but I can't do that. So I changed their names to keep their identity unrevealed from my end. They can talk about it, but counseling is a process which is completely confidential. That means I cannot reveal anything that's said in the session. But with their permission, I'm able to share their journey with others
Yeah.
in the blog. So I hope to blog more. I hope to be more motivated. And now that you are asking me and you're calling me, maybe I'll do that, write a little more of blogs. And because somebody read it and they said that, once you have uh, a dozen of this, we would like to publish you.
That's
So I think
amazing.
I have about 6 or 7 so far, but
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see what I want to do. But I find it more productive, more useful if I
Yeah.
can actually handhold a person from point A to point B towards more clarity. And
Mm,
that is possible in one-on-one sessions, whether I
mm,
write or whether, I mean, that writing becomes, yes, if people benefit from it, yes, it is useful.
mm,
But when I have done scripture studies with Swami Chinmayananda's direct disciple, Swami Haridas Ji. At the
mm.
end of 4 years, when you were very happy to attend his classes and talk about Vedanta and Advaita. So he says, yes, enough. Ho gaya theory. Now go back and start practicing. Go to ground and start working. All this is fine. Intellectual work is great, but where's service hona chahiye.
Yeah.
When the bell rang, oh, service bhi karna padega. Okay. So hence this whole foray into coaching, that I offer it as a service. So if I have that 1 hour where I can sit down and help someone through
Mm.
their own personal dilemma, I am doing the service. So,
I really wish that you write more and more of your blogs, and I am really intrigued with that whole idea of writing a person's journey, and then you compiling all of those into a book. And I would want to review that book someday if I get a
oh,
chance
I
of
would love
that.
it. I mean, so if I'm ever going to publish, I'm going to send it to you for reviewing, so you can do it. Yes.
Thank you. Just a parting message for our listeners. So, what would you want to say for the listeners, for the teenagers listening to our show, and the parents listening?
So different messages for teenagers. The
Mm,
message is that, hey, uh, you can have a great time with a little bit more of self-awareness. So whatever helps in that journey is worth it.
mm,
Fix those basic 4 markers, please: nutrition, hydration, sleep,
sleep.
exercise, and
Yeah.
surround yourself with people who, I can't quote this better than Rumi, who fuel your fire. You have
Mm,
to surround yourself with people who actually excite you, who are engaged with life, who really want to have fun, including reaching their own peak performance. And when
mm,
you look for it, the answers also find you. So there's enough and more options available to make the right career, to find right people, to get the mentors, but you have to be willing to put in that effort needed to find the clarity, because no
yeah.
one else can be happy for you. Your
Mm,
job is to be happy, because no one else can be happy for you. So your job is to figure out what will make you happy, and then
mm,
share that happiness with others.
mm.
you
Right.
know that's for the teenagers. And for parents, I think that because of the pandemic that we have all gone through, they need to
Mm,
look at their own self-care parameters. If they are
mm,
at a good place, uh, then they can expect their teenagers and everyone around them to be in a good place,
mm.
because communication is so much more non-verbal, that even if you don't say, your moods are picked up by others and
Yeah.
people.
Mm,
So, and to be aware of uh, what is happening around you, you have to have that high energy. So work
mm,
on your personal energy, personal clarity. Know that uh, there can be nothing that will go wrong if you are able to put in the effort to love correctly.
mm.
Set firm limits and correct people lovingly. Teach the importance of consequences versus punishment.
Punishment. Yeah.
And note, when there are changes in your children, please note that, if suddenly your child starts talking negatively,
Mm,
uh, is the child low energy? Are there changes in sleep patterns, eating
mm,
patterns? Are they doing poorly at school? Are they pulling away from friends and staying more on media, or just by themselves?
mm,
Are there any other risky and harmful behaviors? Because harmful behaviors, because children, when they don't know how to solve problems, because the brains are confused, they are at that time of when there's a hormonal rush, physical changes are happening in the body, they do not know how to cope, and it's very easy for them to self harm.
yeah.
But the pointers are there right from a lot early. It's not suddenly that a child will get into a place where they will think of harming themselves. There are
Mm,
pointers. So these are the pointers that we can, if we are aware. So I can't stress more on a little bit of family time every day. If you can
mm,
just meet once over the meal and just look at each other and eat together. So just share
mm,
that space of bonding and renew that bond every single day, that hey, we are there for you. If you have any problem, you can come and talk to us. And there
yeah.
are enough and more counselors available and people available, and if they require help, not to hesitate and reach out for mental health professionals, because
Mm.
sometimes children don't want to talk to parents, they want to talk to some other person.
Others. Yeah.
And if we can give them a safe environment to talk to them,
Mm,
we are really doing them a big favor.
right. Thank you, Jonaki, for taking time on this day. That's especially Krishna Janmashtami Day, and I think this was much needed, not just for the listeners, but also for me as well. I mean, I'm really intrigued and really moved by whatever you have said, and the four things that will be literally etched in my brain forever. And it's
Yeah, I
really
repeat
high
it
time.
often.
Nutrition, hydration, sleep, and exercise. And I think it's high time for me and everyone to rectify that, to just have that state of zone where we are comfortable with others and we radiate happiness, and it just alters
And have the
everyone moving.
energy
Yeah, have the
and to
energy to do
choose
things.
well for yourself.
Right. I think it's been a wonderful episode and a great time talking to you. And I
Thank you
hope to
so
see
much
you
for
again. I hope you had a
thank you
great
so much for
time.
having me back. Thank you.